So just wrap up before. So when I had that truck and moving from Chicago to Michigan, that I swung by Rebound. This was where Rebound was parked, on a can out in the harbor, and I drove the truck by. But then you're not supposed to drive trucks on Lakeshore Drive. And I was reminded, but very nicely and by the finest, and he said, just quit being stupid. But that was before I was downtown trying to cut over to here, and I'm at an intersection downtown. I remember exactly where it was. I just don't need to go to it. And I'm in this big old truck, and all of a sudden it looks like the car, I'm in the driver's seat because I'm driving, and the car next to me looks like it's going forward through the intersection, and it's still a red light. And I look over it, and I'm like, the light's red. And the thing is, the truck was rolling backwards, and I bumped into the car behind me with this moving van and crunched the guy's grill. I never heard a word. As the police came and had the exchange of information, and I had the insurance from the U-Haul, but I looked over, it's like, hey, you bozo, you're going through a red, like, and I was rolling backwards. But anyway, made it over finally, and I dropped off a case of beer because it was the same weekend as the Tri-State, and I was missing the Tri-State, and I'll go over that event because there's some good Tri-State stories. But that was the only time Rebound came first in fleet and first in section. I kind of told it wrong. It should have been first in section, but also first in fleet. It's the only time I wasn't on there. And you always want to be there and feel like, you guys needed me for that whole thing. No, we did real well without you. But then this is where Rebound ended up in the following seasons. We were right up against the wall there, so you park wherever. This was the Field Museum. So you parked around here or actually it was along the street, actually up here. Man, we had front row, we had rock star parking. Oh, was that great. Pop on the boat or chill after the race, and the best time. Now I got to do a couple of other things, but the best time, 85 to 86, was coming home after a race, going up Lakeshore Drive to Halstead, and then eventually to Evanston, and going, what a day racing. Oh, and then you get a bottle of wine, gotta have the wine, but you just have a pizza and kick back Sunday night, 60 minutes, and oh, God, that was a great feeling. Exhausted from beating yourself up on the race course, and oh, good times. So just want to get perspective. That talked about when things were good at Marathon, and that was that, and that'll be the color for good. And then so I just talked about when sailing at Rebound, and after my brother lost the bike and $1,000, and at Christmas I said, hey, instead of paying me back for the bike, that if you ever have kids, put all that money for the new bike instead of paying me back, because I was trying to give him little hints like, you kind of owe me on this. He said, instead of paying me back, put that money into a trust for your future kids. Idiot. And me, not him. He's smart. Anyway, and so this is the pre-87 dark stuff, because now we're going here. But then look at that. It just go there. That blew apart because I thought new job, Andrea. It's like that blew up. Go back, and it's like Michigan. No, that ain't going. We know where that's going, but foreshadowing. But yeah, we're working our way up to this one, but we're almost there. So, I'm not done with Rebound by any means, but we're just... So after that trip rolling into that guy and police report, I never heard anything from Hertz or anything. So I don't know if it was just the luck of the draw or what, but I crunched the guy. I mean, this part of the truck just crushed the guy's grill. And actually it was where the little platform here gets tucked underneath. That just crushed the guy's grill. So, and just rolling back speed. And then I get reminded, son, did you know that there's no driving trucks on Lakeshore Drive? I do now. All right, so we make it over to Ann Arbor to 503 Church. And yeah, I've already made the thing about Purdue was 503 State Street, and now we're 503 Church. Totally ironic. And so it was Jim and I and this other guy, and all I remember, I'll think of his name, Jeff Aronoff. But his nickname was Berber, and before we said we hired him on site, but Jim and I interviewed him on the phone because we needed a roommate, because it was a 2-bedroom. Jim and I shared, I'm pretty sure it was this one. Might have been that one, the main foyer. Yeah, I think it was, I don't know. I just thought it was the main front, but it might have been, we'll just call it this. No, it was the other. Okay, I know it's totally irrelevant. I know I'll edit this out, but it was this door, but we had the back apartment is where I'm confused, because we didn't have a window. So Jeff had one of the bedrooms, and Jim and I shared the other. Jim had a pretty serious girlfriend, so he was gone every weekend. And I was North Campus. I'd roll home at 3 o'clock and then leave by 5. One, because the school was the way it was, but then I hated this Aronoff guy, and I just did not get along because I furnished the apartment with all my stuff. Had a big old color, you saw that black and white, but I also had a 19-inch, which was big back then, color TV and remote, and then all the albums. And so I just packed up shop in Chicago and moved it in here. Had a microwave and all the dishes and stuff, and gave this guy free reign. And the guy was just a potato and was always watching TV. And it turned out that his nickname was Berber, but he hated that because the reason he got the nickname Berber was because the guy always sounded like brr, 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 brr. He mumbled and grumbled all the time, so he and I just did not get off. And then he, I don't want to say abused, but took advantage of the situation and was always watching TV, always there. And it did great on Jim. Jim took it, he didn't care, but it bugged me, so I was never here. And I started to resent it, and then the microwave broke, and then I'm like, oh, so I took my football and went home. I gave my TV to someone else. I was pretty immature. Sorry I snorted, but it's just like the guy went out of his way to be a butthole about everything, and I had no room for that. Pun, ironically intentional. Or whatever. But the funniest thing with Berber was when we moved out in the spring, after the spring semester, and Berber, everything was in my name, because they didn't have any credit or anything, so I'd pay the rent and expect him to pay me back. I'm like Mr. Good Faith. So the deposit was in, he gave me a check for the deposit, but I put it in the bank in my name. And at the end, he had to come up to me and say, can I get my check back? So we walked down to the bank, and we, I don't need to do this, but we went down to the bank. I think it was right here. So we're going down, and yeah, was it this bank? It was the bank right on one of the corners here. Oh, it just helps me remember a little bit better. So we go to this bank, and they give me the check, and then I've either got the money or a check in my hand, and I said, you know what, you've been such a jerk, I'm not giving this to you. And he lost it. He absolutely lost it. He goes, I'm going to kill you. I am going to kill you. And I walk out of here, and I start going down the street, and he's following me down the street. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And he's following me, and we went about 2 blocks, and I finally turned around to him. I go, here, you are the biggest jerk. I don't care. But that $200, oh my God, he lost his mind over it. Oh, man. But the guy was from Maryland. No. Maryland, because that was when, Len Bias died that year that he OD'd, and he was the big prospect out of Maryland, and that's where he was from, Baltimore area. And that guy mourned Len Bias more than like a family member. He's just crushed, but that's the kind of guy he was. Anyway, so if there are 3 people in life I didn't get along with, he was the one of the 3. And Rochelle, I'll think of who another one is. Not Jake. Jake's my buddy. But, so yeah, this is just getting a perspective. So that's where we lived. And then I didn't drink. I mean, when I was in Chicago, I started drinking the wine a lot more, the job, than my folks. And so, yeah, I was soaking the feet in the wine. And when I came here, I kind of told myself, I'm not an alcoholic. It's just I drink because I'm not an alcoholic. But I came here, I can go stone sober without if there's something to distract me, not a problem. And when I came here, after the first week of class getting behind and everything, even though I aced tests, I didn't drink, I didn't party. The only time we went down, and I always thought it was like 2 or 3 times for the whole 2 semesters, but maybe half a dozen times we went to the Brown Jug for pizza, and they had pitchers of Schlitz Dark for $3.25. How can you pass that up? I don't care who you are. You just don't do that. Schlitz Dark? Oh my God, that's champagne for college students. And so that was it. And I only went to 1 or 2 parties, and only one was memorable. There's a guy that was in grad school. He was a geotech, and he loved hockey. In fact, Steve Gronenboom took up hockey. He fried. He shorted out between first and second semester because he came back, and he was the other person I nicknamed, and I called him Blade, because he took up hockey. Grad school just does something to you in engineering, because it's all theory and nothing real life and stuff. So Carl, Steve, and I were in, we had design class together, and we had to write a computer program, and it was called DECME, because deflection calculations made easy for pre-stressed concrete. Spinning all over the place. But it was just all theory, and the design, the 500 level wasn't theory, the 600 level was all theory, And that's when we went toink, and Steve went toink. Carl, he did a little toink. And Steve would show up in class, and we go, how's it going, Steve? It was only the three of us. I say 4 out of 110. The fourth guy was this little Weasley-looking guy. He disappeared. No one knew what happened to him. And so it's just Steve, Carl, and I out of 110 in the graduating class of 87. But Steve came into class one time, and we go, how's it going, Steve? He just has this little, the cartoon squiggly mouth of moo, and then the eyes are all spirally, and he goes, hockey's good. I played some hockey, and it's good. Oh my God. And I gotta think of his girlfriend's name because he married. I know they're doing well. He's doing well, but oh Christ. Anyway, they're up in Grand Rapids, but and then Steve was just like, hockey's good. Hockey's good. I think I might play hockey tomorrow. And grad school. Oh boy, that was fun. Anyway, so yeah, this grad student, he played hockey with this other grad student who's geotech, and I went to one of their parties, and maybe it's because I hadn't drunken too much, and I went to their party, and I had just a few beers, and I woke up in the bathtub. It's like, I didn't think I had that much, because I'm not the guy that I fall asleep, but not in bathtubs at some stranger's house. Anyway, but that was my social life there. Oh man, it was North Campus. There was no in between. So yeah, this was the coffee maker for the whole semester. I had a pot before I went to North Campus. I'd be up at 5, no later than 6, have a pot, go to North Campus. Came back, had more. I didn't have another pot when I was up at North Campus. And then this was the boogie. It's the only good picture I have of the boogie bus. There's Oscar. But this is when I flew Alan and Patty out from Boston for a game. And this is Buddy Fred and John Kokobo and Patty Kokobo. This guy did the best Clint Eastwood Magnum Force imitation. Oh, man. Anyway, we went to a mission game. I paid for them to come out, and Purdue. I wanted to start this thing where, every year or every other year that whoever wins the game pays for the other person to come out to the next one. And I think I did it once or maybe twice, and he just never reciprocated. Well, Purdue probably never won, but, it's never like, hey, are we doing that thing? Or for 47-0. There's 2 seconds left, so Purdue had a chance for that Hail Mary, especially against Michigan. But then oh my God, this is what I turned in when my brain fried with Calgin and Goel. Subhash Goel was the prof's name. I think I was supposed to look that up. That was my homework assignment. It's Subhash Goel. I called him Sanjay Gupta. Not that I'm racist. And I turned this in because this is where I started the cartoons with newspaper photos. And oh my God, it was just like, this was my FU to Michigan. I'm just saying, look, you won. And I guess when Professor Hansen saw this, is like, I gotta find out what's going on here, because this isn't good. We can't have our stellar students actually, I came in on academic probation. I had to get a B average, but in grad school, it's like, you have to get C's, not which I was fully capable of. But yeah, I turned this in because I was like, I'm done. I did my toink. Steve did his hockey thing, and oh man, grad school was not kind. So then we ended up over, Carl lived here on South Forest, just to give you a perspective. So there was I, and we've got it all, there you go. But we were North Campus. This is where all of our classes were. But it got to the point where I had to burn it. I called it burning energy, where I was so wound up on coffee and what did I get myself into? I just do this walk every day, no matter what. I want to see I have no idea what the mileage is. We'll just do it. I'd fly. That was my path. 1.41 miles. But, you know, you gotta be, I did this. Let's see what it really was. So it's like 1.8. Might have gone over here for something, and then I forgot something over here, so it's like up to 2. I ran up north, and I got burned more in. Go out here. It's up to 4 miles that I'd go just to burn energy, because that wasn't good. That is like, Berbers. I gotta burn off Berbers. Go over here. I'm up to 11 miles. I just go. So, grad school was grad school, but man, Steve had his hockey. Carl just said Carl. He was from Jersey, and he's just such a great guy. He's like Rod in a lot of ways, kind of quiet, but. Man, Carl and purple cows. That's all I have to say there. We learned what purple cows were one night. And just think a little bit of cheap vodka and a little bit of cheap grapefruit juice. And there's your purple cow. And we discovered what those things were. And then some. But, so we'll just go here. I don't know, I keep taking a break. So it came May of 87 when I found out that, Michigan was going to give me graduation and we'll let you go. And my father, Miles had walked out and things were up in the air and I thought I quit engineering and I was going to write about it. That's what IR and engineer was about. And so I started writing. I did my illustration, little doodle things but then, reality was kind of kicking in. It was like, I got to do something. And Carolyn, bless her heart, started sending me every week $40 in the mail to $20. And she'd send me news clippings, or not news clippings, but want ads for companies. And here's a woman, she could not tell you what. She thought civil engineering was I built bridges or something. That's all she knew about what my education got me. Build bridges or something. And so she sent me these clippings from the Tribune for that week of job postings for civil engineers, along with the $20, which was greatly needed because I tapped out. What money I didn't waste in Houston on happy hours, I'd drop $80 a couple of times at happy hours because I felt guilty of the salary. So there's nothing to drop $40, $60. Better me than someone else that had families or paying for mom and dad's enabling. But no, you want to joke, but you probably just can't joke. But I tapped out all the money I had because when I was in Chicago, I didn't work, or it took me 3 months before I got a job, which I hated in less time than it took to find. Anyway, so it's like, okay, I got to get my act into gear. So Carolyn sent these, and bless her heart, because if she didn't do that, I wouldn't have found Wisjani Elsner. And I found Wisjani Elsner from these clippings, and eventually she sent me one with CTL. But I looked up Wisjani at first, and I read the job description. I go, that's me. That's exactly me. Field investigations and travel and doing non-destructive testing and all this stuff. Because before this point, my big plan was to come to Michigan. I was in earthquake engineering, major was structural earthquake engineering, and to go out to California for the big change in '93 for the codes. And as soon as I got here, I got, that ain't going to work, because, you know, only three or four companies came here to recruit. And the only one I can remember was the Indiana Department of Transportation, because all they wanted to do was get cheap labor for guys that, you know, couldn't get back their green card and could only stay in the States, or however that works, that they couldn't leave the States, or they didn't have their green card reissued. And no one came to Michigan to recruit. And they boast number 2, number 3 engineering grad school in the country. And it's like, they probably were for finance or research, but for students, I beg to differ. For good reason. But, stutter. So yeah, so the California plans blew up, and it was, you know, whatever. So I looked at Wisjandy Elsner and sent them a resume, and I can't remember if I went up there. I might have gone up there, but I know I went up to CTL and fell in love with the place. Ethel Doyle was the contact person. She's the personnel direct, but she called up one night, and it was late. It was probably 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, which was Michigan's Eastern time. So you could tell Ethel was calling from home, because you could hear the laundry going on in the background. But that's this woman. She took her job so seriously, she called recruiters up in the, you know, at home, you know, to kind of pre-qualify them, I guess. But I talked to her, I said, that job is me, you know. And she goes, okay, let's get you up to Chicago, and you want to come up, and we'll do this, this, and this. So I went up, and, I mean, I can go back to CTL, but don't need to. But I went there, and I went over to the mall by there and bought a tie. I probably bought a knit tie, because I can't imagine what kind of other tie I'd buy. So I'm pretty sure I bought a light tan tie, because that goes with everything too, or everything I owned. But I went and got a tie, because the sweater tie was looking a little tired. and I went and I met Walt Kunze, and Walt Kunze is this old, it's just your grandfather. And he's the president, and I go to Walt's office, and he's sitting in his chair, and he's got his hands kind of tucked underneath his front belt in kind of grandpa style, leaning back like he just had a big Thanksgiving lunch and dinner, and he's like, well, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And I go, and he goes, well, let's go get you, you know, let's show you some of the guys and, you know, see what you think. But all cater to me and go meet, you know, Jerry O'Connor and Pete Koff, and meet Kevin Michaels and Carlton and George. And so I meet all the guys, and it's just like, oh my God, I want this job. I want this job. And it came back, and it was early May. And I kept, you know, just wait. It'd be 2 weeks go by. I'd call Bethel. So what's good? She said, I don't know. Just hold on. We'll, you know, she was like one of those, you've got the job, but I can't say anything yet. But I'm too, I want this job so badly. How much do you want? I don't care. I don't even care if you pay me. I want this job. It's me. And, so they ended up hiring me, and they sent me the letter, and I was just like, oh, I'm on top of the world again. So I escaped the clutches of death from academia and got my job at CTL, so I was back on the top of the world. But while I was here, Tom and Deb Paludi moved. Tom was a Fidel, and Deb was Deb, who, I feel like I'm talking to people and you know her by now. So if anyone, you know, the two of you that might be out there that Deb knows who Deb is. Skax Deb, wow, that didn't sound good. SCAX, Skax Stanley Coulter Annex Rooftop Deb. That just doesn't sound right. And Deb and Tom married Deb, and they moved into town here because Tom was ME, and he got involved with the grad program at Michigan and was still there and ended up getting his PhD, and he turned into Ponytail Tom, and they're just great people. And we just, you just lose touch, and then it's like they don't want to know it. It's like I want to know, but they don't. And it's like, well, you gotta just be good with it. It's just like, okay, but I want to, and they don't probably. And anyway, but it's all good. It's all good. But anyway, so they were in town, and they helped me out a little bit. And they came by one day, and I was sitting on the sun. Because I lost weight, and I was turning pale, and I lost my mojo good. And I was sitting out here in the sun, and all of a sudden Pluty comes up, and I'm standing up, and I probably look like I had been in a hunger strike for 3 weeks, because I know you think that boat picture was skinny. I wasn't at my fighting weight then, and I started getting self-conscious of that. I remember I went and got a bunch of potatoes. When I think, I'm doom and gloom. I really was. I wasn't depressed. It was like nothing in life to get me going. I can write, but and that's where God just kind of said, you know what, I'll take care of you. Just hold on. We'll get you. And that's kind of the way, in hindsight, the way it was, because I was going nowhere. And, it's getting back into racing and stuff. So, anyway, good came out of it. But yeah, Pluty showed up, and I just started getting self-conscious and how bad I kind of looked. And then I started eating, because I know I was eating nothing. A Kroger peanut butter 5-pound tub, Roman noodle soup, and coffee was, my first semester, my grocery bill was under $80. And that was probably all coffee and Kroger peanut butter and Roman noodle soup. And they think about it, it's like $80 sounds high. But anyway, and then the roommate here, let's just call his name Dave. Last name rhymes with Rutler. And that guy was so anal retentive about, the guy would brush his teeth so many times, and Butler, that was it. But his family owned a grocery store, this prominent grocery store chain. I'm doomed. There goes a lawsuit. But the guy was, he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. But never before combed the hair a certain amount of times. But his folks owned a grocery store chain. So when I was staying there, his side of the pantries, all mine were barren. A big old tub of peanut butter and some ramen noodle soup cases and, some coffee. And then his was all stacked full of crackers and this and so, I have to admit, I scarfed his club crackers quite a bit, and I kind of held myself to just stealing little things like that. But, oh man, he was, and didn't share. Oh my God, it was beyond it. And he was the business school typical. Yeah, you design your own fate. So if you ain't good enough, and so he didn't. There was no spreading of that wealth. Oh, he ended up reading me the riot act when I was late on something, or he didn't realize that I had taken care of something, and he just chewed me up out of nowhere. And I said, well, Carl has it. And he, had to apologize, but he just turned, wow. Like, whereas he turned into a Berber on me for something where I didn't do something where he thought I did, and wow. But yeah, he's just different. I mean, business school people are just different. You know, money and you find out what you want and you get it. And you do it. That was a mantra of my brother. Find a niche and fall into it and make sure that you survive and, you know, death to others. Anyway, so he left here and, yeah, so I started eating. I remember I got a bunch of potatoes and eggs and just ate 2 or 3 of those a day because I had to bulk up to get into fighting weight for race season. But so that carries me up to 88 now. I missed a race season, but oh my God, I got to tell one quick story. So you go back before I move out of here. So now I'm into summer school after I limped through first semester, I limped through second semester, and all I need are these 2 independent study courses to get me through. So that summer, I get a couple part-time jobs. One is mowing a lawn for a professor just north of town. I'll find it tonight. And the other is I'm working for the landlord of the apartment. It's Gruber Morris Associates, were the rental agency. And they had several properties around town. And over Christmas, I went and did security around them. And it was back when you light up your life. It's a Wonderful Life was on. See how much that song sinks in? It's a Wonderful Life was on 14 times a night in Christmas. And when I bailed on going out to Boston, I'd go out to these different apartments to check on the properties, come back and just flip channels to pick up where It's a Wonderful Life is on another channel. Actually, Andrea is the one that turned me on to watching It's a Wonderful Life, and then that became my little sobby Christmas thing when, you know, not dating anyone and, you know, what is my life and do I make a difference? And no one would know if I'm here. You know, my little pouty thing. And I'd watch It's a Wonderful Life. And just old George Bailey. And my middle name is George. And it's like old George Bailey. And so anyway, that summer I was painting. I had a ladder. The ladder went out from underneath me when I'm painting the peak of this place. I can go down real quick. I was painting up there, and the ladder stuck out here, and all of a sudden it started to go out. Oh, and it reminded me of the time I was at a ladder at Fox Valley. They had a handicap ramp that went up. I mean, you could kind of say this is the ramp going up from first floor landing to the second floor. I could do a wheelie all the way down. They had a wheelchair, but at Fox Valley. So I got good on wheelchairs like I did in the Volkswagen, horsing around on snow. But on this ramp, one time I jerry-rigged a ladder together to change a light bulb at the top. And as I got up there, the ladder fell away. I guess it'd fall down that way. And you know, for the next 10 years, you could see where my feet were kicking because I was about 2 feet above the handrail, which was just a metal 1 inch by 1 inch metal rod handrail. And then there's a foot gap between the wall, which was rough cedar, and this ramp. And I end up hanging on to the little ledge up at the top. But no one's in the building, and I'm just like, oh my God, there's nothing I can do. So I had to drop the 2 feet, then my butt landed on that metal rail with my feet in between the wall and the top rail. But you could see my little kick marks on the wall, and then this little streak, the final streak down. And so when I was up on here, this was my second ladder incident where I had the ladder up here and it started to go. So I won't go on ladders beyond 1 floor anymore. That's just nuh-uh. something ain't right for me. I learned my limits, but I was painting all this, and oh GBs, I was like, that went my mojo as far as I skied double black diamonds. Just not that I was a good skier, it's just like just double black. Then you can say you did a double black diamond. Makes life easier if you could say you did something. And if there was a triple black diamond, I'm sure if I found it, I would have done it. But so anyway, so I did these summer jobs, and I know where it's going. So in Chicago, I get these summer jobs. I'm lined up with doing these independent studies. I find out I'm racing, and all I need to do is get back to Chicago on Saturday and Sunday and come back on weekends for racing, and then do these jobs, and then when the independent study courses pick up, then I can finish and then call it a day. Then I'll get my degree and go home. But when I was working here, my back tail light had been broken out. Now I've got the GTI, and someone broke out the tail light in Chicago, so I had 2 broken out tail lights. The first day of the job with the professor on the other side of town, let me get out of here. I go over, and still burning off. Jeff's gone. You don't have to worry about him anymore. And I drive over to this prof. I'm not going to hunt it, but it is beautiful home on the other side of town. So the prof is over here somewhere. So I'm driving over, and I get to some residential area. All of a sudden, boo! I get pulled over. Do you have a broken tail light, Mr. Singh? In fact, I think you had 2. Or I think you had. I don't remember by the time I got out of my squad car. But when I got out of my squad car, I thought you had 2. I think I did have 2. And he goes, do you have your license there? And I go back. And I'm sitting there like, oh, come on, this is my first day with this professor. I've got my first $6 an hour job, man. I used to be a highfalutin oil industry guy, and then I was a $24,000 guy, but now I get to mow lawns and pull weeds for a professor for $8 or $6 an hour. I'm pretty sure it's 6. And so I'm looking in the rearview mirror, nothing, and he's writing, and then all of a sudden he backs up, and it's like, what? And then all of a sudden a tow truck comes up and pulls in front of me, and then backs up. The squad car pulls up then behind me and pinches me in. Comes up, the cop gets out, and he goes, yeah, I remember now, you had 2 broken taillights. He goes, your license is suspended. And I get my S's, and I can tell you why my S's are like this. And he goes, your license, you don't have an active DL. And it's because it's been revoked, suspended, but revoked. And I go, what? He goes, I don't know, but it is. Illinois revoked it. And I don't, what? He goes, well, you can't drive, son. So they haul my car away. I'm stuck there. I know no one in town. Had Berber been in town, I don't know. That's a rough call. But I knew 0 people, and so I had to walk back. I walked back to church. I think I still have the, yeah. Okay. So I had to walk back, and there was this gal sitting on the front steps. I go, can I borrow you to help me get my car back? And I gave her $20 or something. Already my first day on the job, I'm in the deficit. Well, yeah. But she ended up helping me get my car, or she got my car back here. There's a parking lot right here. She got my car back. I ended up calling the prof, said, I don't know what's going on, but I don't have my car and stuff. And it turns out the state of Illinois, I never got my emissions test taken. because I was in Michigan. But the state of Illinois, they'll send mail only to that residence, which was 1653 Halstead. They won't forward state mail, apparently. So what happened was the state sent this emissions testing mandate to Halstead. I never responded. So because I didn't respond and I had an active DL, that they suspended my license. I never knew about it because no mail's getting forwarded to Michigan. And so they revoked my license. Back then, I always had a spare driver's license for these types of situations. So it's kind of like, I'll deal with that later. So as soon as I found out what was going on, I just drove over. I go, well, it's nothing bad I did. And if something happens, then I'll deal with it. But for that whole summer, I just kept driving until I figured out what was going on with this driver's license. And the problem was, Illinois didn't see me as a Michigan resident. The University of Michigan only saw me as a state of Illinois resident because out-of-state tuition. So I'm in this limbo of no statehood or anti-unstatehood, because while in Michigan, university doesn't want me as a Michigander, but as an Illinoiser, they only want me as a driver's license Illinoiser. But so I don't even remember how that thing got cleared up or when it did, or even if it did, because I worked out a different way to get it revoked. But that was years away. But anyway, so that was the first day on the job with this professor, which turned out I started workaholicing, burning energy, that I had to rebuild a little brick wall. It was only 4 or 6 courses high. I was so frustrated one day rebuilding that and putting in flat stone on a little slope garden thing that I was just profusely leaking sweat. Leak sweat? What? Just buckets of sweat pouring off. And the I won't remember their names, but she came out with a sandwich. I was starving, but I wasn't going to succumb to the elements. And she came out, and that was definitely God coming in saying, give that boy some nutrition, because he's about to melt down. But I pulled weeds like there's no one's business, and they got the best $6 an hour manual labor that you could think of. But yeah, it just came none too soon to wrap this puppy up. But where am I at? Oh, I gotta go. Oh, I went way past. I'll be back.